What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Agency Hour podcast. And today, I am your host. My name is Levi, and I'm joined with Sarah. Say hello.
Hello.
And we have a special guest in the building, all the way from, where's it at? Where's the school?
Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Cambridge, Massachusetts. We have Harvard University attendee Alex in the building. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So for those of you who don't know or haven't listened to recently past episodes of the podcast, Alex was once a team member of the Pixel Hammer team. I think technically he was an intern, but we don't consider him that. It was more of a part/full-time role for him because he was doing more than just intern things. And he's back on summer break. Yeah. Is that what this is?
Yeah.
He's back on break in town, so we figured we'd snatch him up for a podcast episode to figure out where he's at Harvard, what he's doing, and how things are going on that front, technology and anything else related. So we got the three devs, the three nerdiest ones from the Pixel Hammer team here, so I'm sure we'll get some interesting topics of sorts. So how's it going, man? How's college life?
It's good. I've been back for a couple of weeks, just hanging out. So I've been relaxing, decompressing. I leave tomorrow for a big trip.
Okay.
I'm going to China for most of the summer.
Okay.
I actually planned.
Wow, Levi.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I planned my travel around this podcast because I wanted to be here for it.
Oh, geez. You didn't have to do that.
No. But yeah, so school's been over and I'm getting ready to go do this other thing.
So how long will you be in China for?
I'll be there until August 21st.
Holy crap.
So like most of the summer.
It's a couple months.
So what are you doing in China?
I'm working for a company called BGI, which is an empty acronym, or Huada if you're from China. But it used to be the Beijing Genomics Institute, and they helped with the Human Genome Project. But I'm going to be doing like data wrangling. So I don't know exactly what that involves yet. I think like making charts, maybe like they collect a lot of data. They sequence stuff,
right?
And then they need to present it.
So it wasn't hard enough to learn a new programming language. You also have to learn a new actual language to program.
So you've been taking Chinese language classes?
Pretty intensively. It's like every day for like an hour.
Okay.
And then yeah.
So are you fluent? Are you
我的中文说得不太流利.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Say it again.
我的中文说得不太流利.
And what is that?
My Chinese isn't that fluent.
Oh, wow. That sounded pretty spot on to me. I mean, I don't know anything about Chinese, but it sounded like you could get by.
I think it always sounds cool when you speak because people, it's very tonal and like,
right.
It sounds foreign. And it does. Like the old like trope is like, it sounds like the silver falling down the stairs.
Right.
And like, it kind of does until like you learn it. And then like.
So have you like gone, I know this is like super American and just whatever of me, but
no, please.
Like, have you gone to like get Chinese food and like listen to what they're saying in the back, like to see if you can pick up on it?
So I haven't, not at restaurants necessarily, but the thing about Harvard's campus is it's kind of a tourist attraction, especially for international families. So there's a lot of Mandarin in the yard where I lived. So like I could go outside. And funny story, so like we do this thing, it's called Primal Scream. The night before finals, you go out and you run a lap around this like basically this grass field naked. Okay. Like completely naked. And it's like supposed to de-stress. But there were tourists. This is midnight, but there's still tourists. Right. And they were like Tai Bukutsi, like just disrespectful is what they said when they saw us. Like I heard someone yell that. I was like,
right.
So stuff like that. I hear like sometimes like
so they're insulting you, but they don't realize you can understand them.
Right. Yeah. And it's crazy because like one of my good friends is from Singapore and she speaks fluently, and it's like a lot of people speak Mandarin.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, okay. When we're done here, remind me to bring back up. I want to talk to you about the whole running around the yard naked thing.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Did you do it?
I did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, all right.
It's just a lap.
Good for you. So you
have to remember his totem was a hamster because he loves running.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're always running. Huh. So you're going to China with this company. Are you staying on your own, or like do you have people that are like friends from the program that are going with you, or how will you be living over there?
So the internship was arranged through like a center that's affiliated with like East Asian Studies at the school. Mm-hmm. And they put a lot of kids at different companies. So I will have a roommate in like a commercial kind of long-term hotel, short-term apartment type deal. And I'll be living in that with another dude. And then there will be 2 other students somewhere else in Shenzhen also living together.
So the company you'll be working for, I'm assuming all their systems are in that language too, right?
Well, the thing about programming is, I mean, it is mostly just in like Latin characters.
Okay.
So I won't.
That's true.
And also my direct supervisor, got his PhD from the University of Minnesota. So he speaks great English.
Oh, okay. Cool.
He said everyone in the lab will speak English, but he's not sure to what degree they will speak English for my sake.
Okay.
So
right.
They might still just like chat. They're going to chat.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, yeah.
That's so crazy.
So now, but like, do you have any idea how, because just beyond your lab, like you're going to have to go get food and like live in China. Do you have any idea, what level of fluent, like, do you feel confident in your knowledge of the language to be able to order food and stuff like that without accidentally getting poisoned?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of terrifying, but that's about all I'm confident I can do.
Order food.
Is order food and maybe ask for directions.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not sure how well I could receive the directions. It like depends on how complicated the directions are.
Do people over there have, do they speak English?
Yeah. I think
frequently over there.
It's like part of Chinese education, like public school, that they're all taught English.
Right.
But it's like my Chinese teachers, like the people who actually taught me at school, they're just Chinese people. They're college educated, but educated in China. Basically, like the idea of like someone going to China to teach English, but they came from China to teach. From China to teach Chinese.
Right.
And they say that it's like basically just very intimidating. Most people don't end up really learning English past like elementary school. So like English is very broken. Pronunciation isn't necessarily great. But
right.
They should be able to say some things. Yeah.
Okay. So besides from obviously learning this new amazing language and preparing for this trip, what other exciting things can you tell us about Harvard? How else is it going?
Yeah, Harvard's wild.
Wild?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty crazy.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like that crazy, but I took a couple of computer science classes. We could talk about that because that's what we're into. I took a systems class last semester, and then this semester I took 2 CS classes. One called programming languages, which was like, it's not actually about just learning programming languages. It's about small kind of like theoretical languages and using programming as like, or thinking about programs in terms of what they do. Like, so it becomes like very mathy and you're like proving things programmatically. So that's what the class was. It was very theoretical. I did very little programming, and what I did do was in like OCaml or Haskell.
Yeah.
And then
I had that class too.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan, to be honest. I wasn't a huge fan. But then I had one more class, data center topology, which was about like software defined networking and like basically how Amazon, Google, and Microsoft optimize their servers to produce to give the most computational power with their public clouds at the cheapest price.
Right. And is that like the reasoning behind the fact that Amazon can charge like $1 for like 10 terabytes of data on their cloud service? Is that kind of the math behind that?
Storage is so cheap. A lot of it was like, I mean, you can get free servers even from all these providers now.
Right.
Because like CPUs are also cheap. But a lot of it is like, if you have physical machines, but I'm only using like 80% of this CPU's capacity, but I have like this physical machine is 80% utilized. How can I sell that other 20%?
Right.
So you kind of have to like abstract everything away. So you start using virtualizations like virtual machines. And then you also have to, but then if you virtualize things, it's like, now part of my computer is on this physical machine and part of my computer is on this totally different box somewhere else.
Right.
So now they have to be able to communicate at the speed of a real computer. So it's like, how do I network them? And then there are actually different ways that you can plug everything into everything else.
Right.
And that's like, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Although very like specific, not very like broadly applicable.
Yeah. I don't know if this has to do with it, but I watched a video of these guys, and they took like a PC that they built or whatever, something that like Apple doesn't support at all. Like all of the hardware was like, stuff that's not supported, and they created a virtual machine of Mac, and then with some drivers and like 2 other hacky little lines of code in the terminal, they had like a fully functioning version of Mac OS running on like this other machine, which they could upgrade.
Really?
They could add more CPUs to it. They could add more RAM to it. They could add an AMD processor if they want, which anybody who knows anything about Mac is that they don't support AMD processors, right? So like there was this whole, it's hacky, and I think it's kind of illegal, but it was very interesting because then at the same time they had another virtual machine of Windows running, and like they were doing things simultaneously, like video editing and gaming, and off of this one super powerful non-supported machine. I don't know if that has anything to do with what you were just talking about, but
No, that's very cool. I remember that was like all I wanted to do when I was little, like before I had a Mac.
yeah,
Like you want Mac OS.
yeah,
So you're like, Google like, how do I install Mac
Right.
OS on my PC? And like everyone's trying to hack it together.
right.
That's really cool.
Well, I mean, the Hackintosh community nowadays is like,
Yeah.
you can download like one program on a thumb drive and throw it onto a Windows machine, and now you have a Macintosh.
For real.
Yeah,
It's gotten
the
that good?
Hackintosh is like super simple.
I like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's like a lot of like workarounds, like out of the box, like there's services like iMessage and iCloud won't work,
Right.
but there's drivers and things that you can do to make it happen. But
That's so
like,
cool.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I have a couple thumb drives with Linux operating systems on them that you can just plug it into a computer and it boots up a Linux.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool too.
Yeah.
That's always how kids used to like. There's someone that got, I think, probably suspended in my school for like just, it was like a kill. It was
In
like
Harvard?
a kill USB. No, back in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like just like plug it in and fry the computer.
Right.
That's just a dumb thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are, I've always seen those videos online too. They'll take those, and like obviously they work on regular computers, but they're like, what if we plug it into a VGA to DMI to USB to old school keyboard adapter, and like what happens when we plug it in? Or they'll do like USB to like lightning to see if they can kill an iPhone, or it's those are interesting. Like, what are those used for? Like, are they just like for security? Like, if someone's like in and breaching something, they'll just plug it in and kill everything before they can get there.
For destruction.
And destructible, yeah.
Hooliganism.
Yeah.
For a high school student to
Hijinks.
destroy his computer lab.
Right. Yeah, that's true too.
when
Just
he
like-
doesn't want to do an assignment.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of people putting kill switches on their computers for security reasons. Like, if
Right.
you fail a password too many times, like,
It explodes.
well, it doesn't explode, but it'll
In the
automatically
movies?
erase the data.
In the
it.
movies, they explode.
Yeah, well, that's the movies.
You know what's like wild and super apocalyptic?
Yes.
How like in Baltimore they just recently, the WannaCry thing like affected Baltimore. It was a exploit executed by North Korea with like a technique that was like paid for by the NSA, and then it affects all of like these Baltimore like Windows 7 machines, and all of a sudden people can't buy houses.
I feel like I saw
The
that.
VA hospital gets shut down for like a day.
Right.
Like it's like ridiculous mass hysteria. I don't know. I think that's pretty scary.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as soon as the electrical grid's gone, like,
Yeah.
that's it, right?
Wait, didn't that actually happen in Atlanta? Do I remember that? Or no? I think I might have also been making that up.
Well, You know what we should talk about?
What?
Because I don't know if Alex has heard about it. The whole like flipped bit thing that.
Oh, the reply all thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Have you heard about that at all?
I don't think so.
So...
Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, let Sarah explain it, because I'll butcher it.
So it's another podcast, Reply All, and we were listening to them in here, and they were talking about this situation in like an election where there were more votes cast than like existed people in the area. And so they started investigating, and they found that like the weird number was 4,096, which you'd recognize as like a
is it the eighth power?
It's a multiple of
2.
Yeah. Or a power of 2. And so that's how they started figuring out that there are these particles that enter our atmosphere, and because our computers are so small now, these particles have enough energy to actually trigger
a bit flip in memory, right?
Right.
Wow.
And they also talked about how this may be what was causing some of the cars to go crazy, like a couple years back.
The brakes that...
Well, like the car just started accelerating because the computer was thinking that the car was being told to accelerate because this bit got flipped. Yeah. Like we've made computers small enough now that... Well, and I know...
Or like dense enough, like the memory density maybe. Or you know what I mean?
Yeah. We're just like that's crazy.
Right.
And I know they're going into the quantum computing now too, like imagine...
Well, and like what else does that affect, right? So like the first example was like the election, and then the second example was like the acceleration on the guy's car. So like where does that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Could be. I actually did hear about that, not on the Reply All, but Radiolab is a different podcast that talked about it too.
Yeah.
And one of the things they mentioned is, this happened to be 4,096 votes or whatever, or 4,000. Yeah. But what if it were just like 12? Or not, it wouldn't be 12. What if it were 16?
Right.
And
nobody would notice.
Nobody knew. But like, what if that person only won by like 13 votes?
Right.
And then like, there's no way to actually prove at that point. There's no paper trail. There's no way to tell that the bit flipped.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is all just energy from the atmosphere, right? Or the sun, or what's the...
Yeah, I think it was like stars.
It's an energized particle coming in through the atmosphere.
Gotta start putting sunscreen on our computers.
That's that's great. So like, I mean, yeah.
Well, and here we do sort of have a society though that kind of expects things to be buggy and flukes to happen with our computers because it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can always recount.
We don't always.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we've had bugs even this week that's like, I can't reproduce this. Maybe it was just a fluke.
Right. Yeah.
We don't know what actually caused this to happen.
Right. And we're not like at the level where we can be like, oh, well, the quantum power came down from the star that was aligned at the planet at this very specific moment and infected our computer and not the client. Yeah. That's so very strange to me. That's like, where does that go? You know, like how does that get taken? Like how the scary part is when someone figures out how to harness it, right? So like if they somehow can harness that, they harness that and then they put it into a box and literally flip a switch. It's called a bit switch, so we might as well make it a switch. And they walk into
a bit switch. Yeah,
they walk into Colorado's, voting room, flip the switch, and all of a sudden the governor who paid them $1 million to make it happen is ahead by 4,016 votes or whatever it is.
I feel like that would be really difficult to target, but it could definitely be used to scramble a computer, I'm sure.
I feel like if you were to like just spray it with radiation or whatever, it would probably make it crash. Like the only the fact that they flipped one bit is what's scary,
Right.
Yeah. If they just flipped a whole bunch, it would probably die.
You'd probably corrupt the computer really quickly, yeah.
So, okay. Where are you at in school? Have you been there for a year yet?
Yeah, I've been there for a year.
Okay. Was it what you expected it to be?
I mean, like not actually, I'd say not at all in like a certain sense. I'm not gonna. I really like Harvard. I won't talk down on it except like this once, but I don't think it's necessarily like a. It's not like a paradise for learning as much as it's like this institution that's kind of made to train the elite. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're just like trying to. They're pumping out people that are going to like sustain this whole like hegemony that like has been created. You know?
Does everybody there want to be like the next Mark Zuckerberg?
I mean, maybe everyone who's studying CS. Probably not everybody. But they're actually, I think, I'd say deep down a lot of them want that, but they're too cool to like, you know,
admit
say
it,
that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like the thing not to do now.
Right.
Is to be like, oh.
Yeah, you want to be Zuck today.
Right. Do you guys have any like what other like traditions, or not traditions, but like what other like
wacky stuff?
Yeah, like what's like the weird stuff?
Like really weird thing, not hard to find this fact, but there's a statue in the yard that we're all supposed to pee on the foot.
Okay.
So at night the foot gets peed on and it's shiny and tourists touch it. Like because it's the shiny foot, but it's like shiny.
It's shiny because you're peeing on it?
I'm not sure if it's shiny because we're peeing on it or if it's shiny because the tourists touch it. And I'm not sure like which happened first.
Maybe like the oil from the fingertips mixed with the...
Yeah, I think it's like the acid from the urine gets like, you know, massaged into the boot.
So you're telling me there's nobody at Harvard that knows the science behind the shiny foot?
You know, there probably is.
I'm sure.
People don't talk about
Which
it during...
came first, the touching or the peeing?
I know, right? And people used to take pictures like touching the foot, and I'm not sure if like it's really unclear whether the tourists know or not.
Right.
I never asked them.
No, I something tells me they don't.
Yeah. It's just like they see other people doing it and then they do it, and someone's always doing it.
Okay. Is Skull and Bones a thing? Can we talk about that?
Skull and Bones, I think, is Yale.
Oh, it's Yale. Oh.
If you want to talk about the societies and stuff, there are some.
Oh, are you a part of one?
I'm not.
No.
I don't know that like I have the pedigree to be, but
like you're
yeah,
like you have to have like parents who are somebody who knows somebody.
Prep school helps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you'd gone to Mercersburg, you probably would have been golden for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just that kind of thing. And that's because really what they're clubs. They have houses, but they're like more like country clubs kind of. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're also all male, so I guess they're kind of like fraternities, but they're like, it's just that kind of like atmosphere, I think. Like,
right.
So not everyone is used to that. Not everyone, I don't think, even enjoys that. But yeah.
Yeah. So Emily wanted me to ask about. She didn't really specify, so we'll take it in two ways. But she wanted me to ask about Let's start with this. What's the technology like there? Is it like everyday stuff that you guys are using, or do you have like a robotics lab with like high tech futuristic stuff that like the public hasn't seen yet, or is there anything like that going on?
Our like regular technology is like our IT department, pretty traditional, I think. Yeah, I'm thinking about. I don't think there's probably that much cool robotic stuff happening at Harvard because it all happens at MIT.
Right.
Yeah, you might be disappointed. We do have. There's a supercomputer that they have.
Okay.
Like a big warehouse with like different kinds of like it's set up to be. There's actually one of the things I learned in this class that I took about data centers is the difference between like a data center and a supercomputer.
Okay.
Because they're both just big warehouses full of machines, but a supercomputer is usually connected in a way that's like much more expensive for like hyper parallelization.
Okay.
So we have this like data warehouse somewhere in like Western Massachusetts that you can access if you're doing research. Kind of cool. But I think that's the only cool piece of technology I know about.
So is that like something, I'm assuming that's not something that you can just like
hop on.
Well, right, like hook a monitor up to and use a supercomputer. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah.
Well, no, you can. I think you write the programs in a special way. probably different languages are supported, but it has to be parallelized. So like basically you have to break down whatever you're doing into a bunch of different, like, so a bunch of things could be run simultaneously. And then you send a little email, probably have to have like advisor, like a faculty or someone.
Right.
And then they like provision you some time.
Right.
And then
they give you like a chunk of the machine to use.
Right. And then you get to do it. Yeah.
Go ahead. No, I
was thinking also kind of cool. One of my friends actually, like, we're living together next year. His dad and mom are both physics professors there.
Jeez.
His dad is a pretty cool guy, Professor Lucan. I don't know his first name, but apparently like in line for a Nobel Prize kind of dude.
Wow.
And he does like research into quantum physics, right? So his lab is working on a quantum computer. I don't know exactly.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, like the real ones, like not the annealing ones that like was it there's a company that sells that, but like the true quantum.
And what is the definition of quantum computer?
Yeah, I don't know, but
Sarah?
My understanding is that because a quantum particle can be in one place, the other place, or both at the same time, that it adds. So instead of it being binary, which our current computers are, which is on and off, 0 and 1, it then adds a 2.
Okay.
So instead of it being to the second power, everything is to the third power. And so you can hold a lot more data and compute things a lot faster. Just by having that extra number to work with.
I think the other side effect is like it's not deterministic. So everything is given in probabilities, or like everything's measured in probabilities, which is kind of like makes it.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more that goes into the quantum stuff that I have no idea, but that was just my basic understanding of what it was.
It like gives estimates. Like even if we like imagine like the theoretical like best quantum computer that we can't build today, it would give like estimates, but like really estimates of like important things like decryptifying. Decrypting.
Does that have anything to do with the quantum realm in the Avengers movie? Is that?
Have you seen Endgame?
No,
I haven't either.
I know what happens, but it's I
haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not a theater guy. So have you had any like ideas while you were there in your first year? Not like
that Levi can steal.
No, not like ideas, but like ideas as in the sense of like, I don't know, like not going back to like the Facebook thing, but have you ever been like, oh, I could take this class and everything I'm learning, and if I use this and that and this, we could put together this application or company or new way of doing something, or you know what I mean? Like, have you had any of those like big like, like dreamy kind of multi-billion-dollar
ideas?
Yeah,
I have not, not to disappoint.
Dude, you're doing it all wrong. What year of his education did Zucks make Facebook? That was what, sophomore year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you're getting into it. Okay, so next year we'll talk to you about the $1 billion. Yeah.
Like, I think I'd have to be like worse off socially to be inspired to do something.
Right.
So how do you think you compare? Or at least for the first year, how did you compare to kind of your peers in the CS program?
Okay.
Because like you already know how to code.
Right. I wasn't taking the intro classes either, so I like took whatever. I'd say probably like 50, like probably right about the median. I don't know. Most people think they're the median. There's some like really, really talented people, just like great at it.
Well, does anyone go to Harvard's CS program that doesn't already know how to code? I guess maybe that should have been my question.
No, I think actually a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not what we're geared up to do. Like, people don't really go to Harvard for CS either, necessarily.
Right.
Like, I think someone who really wanted to be in CS wouldn't go to Harvard. Oh, that's a different thing. I don't think I'm going to study. I don't think that's going to be my major.
Really?
I should say that. But going along with that, I think that a lot of people come in and then find CS, and then so you have people that came from a different background and decide to do it.
CS is computer science, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So what are you looking at for your major then?
I'm thinking, and you're welcome to push back on this, philosophy.
Explain that.
Yeah. So the thing about CS, in my understanding, is it's kind of like pre-med in the sense that it pigeonholes you into a career, like a specific career.
Right.
Whereas if I get a philosophy degree, it pigeons me into unemployment. Wait, no, I'm just kidding. No, but it does kind of leave. First of all, I think reading those kinds of books and those kinds of arguments has the real potential to make me smarter, whereas studying CS will teach me more things but not necessarily make me smarter in any meaningful way. And then also with the philosophy degree, I can, if I really felt bad, I could go to grad school and still do CS, or you can do law school. Or
so you're thinking if you stay with CS, you feel like you're not getting what you want out of Harvard, and you could go anywhere and take computer science.
Yeah, Harvard CS is okay.
Yeah, right.
It's not, but it's not like Harvard philosophy is probably,
And then that would put you in the field of what would you do as a job?
So I might still get some sort of minor type thing in CS, but if I wanted to be involved with tech companies, you could do project management at that point. Or I'm thinking with Chinese, that's the way I'm going. I'm going to keep taking it. I could do something related to helping American businesses in a Chinese market, or helping Chinese businesses in an American market. So that kind of stuff is what I'm interested in doing.
Right. So then that kind of led me to my next question is where, I think, I'm just assuming, but I'm 99.9% sure that once this is all said and done for you, you're probably not moving back to Carlisle, right? So where does that take you? It kind of sounds like you're on this path to do something between here and China, or some sort of relation between here and there.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who my employer is when I graduate.
Would you want to go to one of the big places? Get a job at Google or something?
Oh yeah. I don't think it would be bad to work for Google. I think if I got a CS degree and then I went to work for one of the tech companies, that's basically it's a fine job, but that's what you do for the rest of your life. Or maybe you start a startup or something like that. But there are more options the other way. I'd be fine working for a company like Google. I'd be fine working in terms of cities. I'd be fine working in New York or California somewhere, or internationally, really anywhere. Hong Kong is a place where a lot of Western businesses set up shop to do business in China. But
now, is there a particular reason for the philosophy? It's just that's what's really awesome at Harvard, because I know a couple of my friends kind of did the same thing where they wanted to not pigeonhole themselves into a particular career path.
Yeah.
But they instead went the business route. So they took a lot of economics and leadership and management type classes for that business degree, and then did a CS minor or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I think that, so a lot of people, economics is actually the most popular degree at Harvard.
Really?
Yeah. But it's not really my style. So if you do econ, you're basically saying I want to work in finance. So that means I want to work for Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan Chase or something like that. And that's what everyone's goal is. And that's a very specific career path also.
Right.
And then at that point, if you go down that road, you do kind of end up in the finance industry. Maybe one day you work for a private hedge fund or something like that. But once again, I'm not really trying to move paper around,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, but you could also do business from an econ degree if you wanted to, just general business. And I guess that is kind of what I want to do, but I don't.
I think a lot of people who go into politics do econ too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'd rather have, I feel philosophy is probably a more useful thing to learn. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's an interesting thing to say. Now that I said it out loud, but and then also is like a more wholesome thing to learn. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so God, it's a lot to wrap your head around. Because I just went to the Art Institute, and that was really simple. So, no, I think it's crazy. Do you regret not going to MIT?
Not at all. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Because it's just kind of, MIT is a weird place. I've like learned a little bit more about it. Like, it's kind of, it's definitely like the tech nerd paradise type thing, but also as an institution, it's like federated as a research university in a way that it doesn't like really care that much about students, where they live, where they eat.
They care more about what you produce and what you do.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it's not, their student life is probably fine, but it's very much not centered around the college. So it would definitely be a stranger place to live and like learn. And then also many more people would be focused just around tech, which I don't necessarily know if I'd like that. There's a lot of focus around tech at Harvard. There's a lot of focus around tech everywhere, but
right.
So correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like the goal with the philosophy is more along the lines of like focusing on maybe learning and understanding how to think.
Yeah.
And then, because I know personally with computer science, like I love computer science because it's very logical and it has this sort of
like
structure.
Puzzles?
Yeah, it has this sort of structure on how you take a problem and break it down logically and say, okay, this is how I think about this.
Right.
And you can see different philosophies come through in people's code in the same way you read two different books on relatively the same topic. But is that kind of like what your aim is?
That's really
maybe?
interesting, because programming does do that. It like kind of teaches you how to think a different way, like formally, and math does that too. And there are a lot of different like disciplines that are basically just like ways to think about things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's definitely what I'm looking for in philosophy. I feel like sometimes you meet people, and we've all met people, and you're like how do you survive in the world? Like there's nothing like behind, you know what I mean? Like there's no one home kind of thing. And then you also meet people, and
yeah, no, that makes sense.
And then they're like, there's way too much. There's so much.
That was just the nicest way to.
But that kind of person, and then like sometimes you meet people, and it just seems like their whole like level of thinking, like their thought process is like on a different like astral plane, and like there's so much complication, and it actually like
they think they're bigger than the rest.
Not even people that are like self-important or that kind of thing, but like regular people, but just like they really do think rationally, logically, and they come to like interesting like conclusions, and that's a valuable thing.
Right.
So that kind of like just very formalized kind of thought process. I think
can connect dots that other people don't see.
Dot connecting would be cool. Like really critical reading, and like a critical understanding of like arguments and that kind of thing. That's what I'm looking for.
All right. Let me hit you. I'm gonna hit you with like 3 rapid fire tech related questions. Okay.
Okay.
Sarah, if you want to think of one. First one. Galaxy S Fold. Good idea, or are you glad it failed?
I don't know why the phones need to fold again.
That was kind of what I said, wasn't it?
I think, I'm pretty sure.
I don't have issues.
Why are we going backwards?
Like, I'm not a big screen person either. Like, I mean, I like screens. I just don't like big screens necessarily.
Right. Okay.
Kind of interesting that they just like covered it in plastic.
Right. Okay. Cool. Is Elon Musk still with his girlfriend that he was with last
Grimes?
time? Yeah.
I don't know. No, wait.
You don't keep up with the Musk?
No, he's not with Grimes
anymore.
anymore.
My gosh. Why'd they break up?
I don't know. I think, but I believe there's.
You're asking like he knows him personally.
Well, he was super into it last episode he was on, and he knew all about their relationship because he was all over the Twitter.
Well, I like Grimes.
Yeah.
That's a controversial thing to say.
Okay.
But also, like, he might be dating a different pop singer or something now.
Okay. Last one. So this one's going to take me a minute to get out, and maybe you don't know the answer, and that's fine too. But I think it's an interesting thought. Emily and I talked about it the other day, and it just popped in my head, so I'm going to ask you. You know, we all know Google. We all know Google Maps, right? We all know, do you know the navigation app Waze? Mm-hmm. Right. You know, Google owns Waze.
I didn't know.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's interesting.
Okay. So let me just, hold on. Let me just do some research real quick. Does Google own
He needs to check his facts
Waze? Now. Yeah, because if they don't, then I'm pretty sure they do. Google bought Waze for $966 million in 2013. Okay, Google owns Waze. One of Waze's biggest features is the like community and like social aspect of it. So if there's an accident, you go on there and you say, "Hey peeps, there's an accident." If there's a cop ahead, you go on there and say, "Hey, there's a cop. He was about a mile back." And so when I'm using Waze, it's the little red light flashes that, "Hey, there's a cop up here. Someone just reported it 5 minutes ago. He's probably still there. Slow down." So I do, right? My question is, why hasn't Google incorporated that social / like notification technology into their Google Maps application?
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like that's one of the biggest things, right? You're driving, you don't want to be pulled over, right? So Waze's thing is like report it and help others like, you know, stay in the know. So the biggest thing that Emily and I could come up with is maybe back in, I think 2013 is when they launched this whole thing, is maybe like this was a new thing for Waze. Like they were proprietary to it, and they like, now there's like laws passed and like you can't do it anymore. But they're like in some like grandfathered in like thing. So maybe Google can't use it, or maybe like when they bought Waze, they said, "Hey, you can't take this feature with you," or something. I don't know. We just thought it was interesting. Yeah. Something to think about.
Yeah. That is interesting. The first thing that comes to my mind is liability.
Right.
And somehow Google would be more liable if it incorporated that into Maps than it is just if it's part of Waze. But you're right. Maybe it was also like part of the terms of the acquisition.
Pretty sure cops would make a really big stink about because like almost everybody uses Google Maps anymore.
Right.
So if you're putting that feature into something that everybody's using to get around,
right,
it would be really controversial. Yeah.
Like it's one thing for an app that a bunch of teenagers and younger people use, but once you
Google Maps,
honestly, if Waze even gets to be big enough, I wouldn't be surprised if it was shut down by.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, why wouldn't they just bring over those features? Like Google does controversial things all the time, so why wouldn't they just take the source code that they're using to target the police and accidents and other things that the general public can do and just throw it into Google Maps?
Well, because once it gets to be a certain size, it becomes a problem. Right. It's kind of, I think Lyft and Uber experienced the same issue where they didn't have any problems until it got to be big, and suddenly
taxis.
The unionized taxis in certain cities threw a fit about it because they were like, it started to affect them.
Right.
When it was little, they didn't care. But once it got big enough, then it became a problem that needed to be dealt with.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Another point might be it would bring those problems, and it also wouldn't make Google any money because they already own Waze. They have all the Waze users. They aren't trying to steal users from Waze.
Right.
So, like, it would introduce liability without making the money. And Google will do controversial things, but usually in the pursuit of profit.
All right, so I'm going to need you to get a job at Google, get on the Maps team, and figure out why it's not a thing.
Sure.
Any closing thoughts? Sarah, any other questions for our friend here?
Now that you've been at college for a year, do you have like one piece of advice you give someone or give yourself, like maybe yourself from 2 years ago?
Yeah.
About,
or like what would you do differently if you started over or something like that?
We're asking the tough questions now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of, I would have probably taken different classes, but I feel like that's not a good answer.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I would have tried to walk on to crew, I think.
Do what?
Walk on to crew. It's like rowing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm thinking about doing it next year.
Yeah.
But if I'd done it as a freshman, it would have.
You better get those arms up.
Yeah.
His arms are a little skinny for some.
It's all about legs.
Oh, it's legs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most of the power is generated by the legs.
Oh.
But, it just...
Same thing.
Kind of miss being part of a sport. It's a big thing there.
Right.
What's
their thing there? What's their sport there?
Oh, well, I mean...
I don't think anybody's rooting for the Harvard football team. Is that...
Except Harvard students.
Well, yeah.
But, crew is like... Definitely think of all the like sort of posh sports are like the ones where they have good, like better showing, like crew. Sometimes there are Olympians, like sometimes the US team sources from Harvard. Sailing, once again, like I don't want to brag. There's a kid who is training this summer for Tokyo, who lived in my hallway. Super talented guy. And then there was also, when the NHL had that whole thing where they weren't going to send people to like the Olympics for like hockey or something in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a couple people go then from the hockey team. But yeah, so the sports aren't like this. The athletes themselves are not of like a true D1 caliber that you get at like a state school.
Right.
But some people care about sports a lot. Anyways.
Do you still have like what were the big kind of posh sport, like squash and lacrosse?
Oh yeah, squash and lacrosse, definitely. Although I don't know anything about professional lacrosse. I don't think that exists. And squash is not even an NCAA sport.
I just remember because I went to Mercersburg for 1 year, and those were two really big sports there because it was a prep school that was preparing everybody for the Ivy Leagues.
And that's what prep schools do. And that's the element of the school that's like, it's just focused around training rich people to be rich.
There were two people at prep school that you could identify three. You had the rich kids who got in because their parents had a lot of money.
Right.
You had the smart kids who were there on scholarship, and then there was this third category of people you had no idea how they got in there or why.
They were idiots.
Pretty much. And they weren't rich ones either.
Right.
Maybe they were under the I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
All right, Alex. Safe travels, my man. Have fun in China. Do me a favor. Here's your task while you're over there. I'll assign it to you in Asana later.
Okay.
Find something, a shirt or a toy, something that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Something over there that has a tag on it that says "Made in the United States."
Okay.
Have fun.
Thank you.
We'll be checking in. Maybe we'll FaceTime you when you're over there to see some, I don't know how your apartment looks or the culture or what's out your window or something.
Totally.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Agency Hour podcast. As always, my name is Levi. Have a great night, everybody. Sarah, say bye to the people.
Adios.
Say bye, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time. Thank you, guys.